Hey everybody, welcome to Power Hour, starring me, Ron Harris, and the man who just got back from Sweden, none other than Giles Tiger Thomas. Welcome back. Welcome back to the UK, Giles.
Thank you, Ronster.
Yeah. So we have the first show to qualify for the 2026 Mr. Olympia coming up in just 2 days, taking place in France. And when I saw the roster, the first name that stuck out was Quinton Area, because good Lord, that's 8 weeks after Tampa. So he's been peaked for an entire 8 weeks. Tampa, then he did Texas, then he did Italy, Germany. Good Lord. So if you do the math, he's been in prep for about 6 months at this point. First of all, were you surprised to see that he was on that list?
Yeah, I was actually, because I heard was it a few days or last week or whatever, they said he'd gone back to Canada. So I just automatically assumed, oh, he's shutting it down now, because to go from Europe to Canada, then back again, you know, to try and qualify for next year, that's a lot of air miles. I literally just assumed that he was shutting it down, mate.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know whose body can hold on that long in a peak with the low body fat and the water and just the mental rigors of being on the mental and physical rigors of being on prep that entire time. You know, I definitely wish him the best. This was actually transparency. This was 4 days out of Italy, so this isn't completely recent, but it's pretty much what he looks like now. I doubt he's going to look very different from this. Do you see his body getting better, worse, or staying the same as these weeks have gone by?
Well, I thought, because I thought he was starting to fade a little bit in Italy, but in Germany, I was expecting him to be really faded, and he wasn't. He kind of clawed it back a bit. I thought he looked really good in Germany. But I think I don't know what to expect. I honestly don't. I mean, he's obviously really going to, that sounds silly, but obviously he's going to win it. Going to want to win it, you know, because he's kind of like a last pitch attempt. Because think about it, if he qualifies here, I mean, that's one of the best case scenarios you can get. You can shut it down and then just get ready all year next year, knowing that you don't have to qualify, you don't have to go into any off season after a prep, and then try and go into another peak. You can just do one prep 3 months before the Olympia, and even if you want to, as a bonus, you can jump into a show a few weeks before. You know, what have you got to lose? But yeah, it's going to be interesting because like I said, he shocked me in Germany. I didn't expect him to look that good because I thought his body was starting to fight back against him, which it typically is with these guys, as you know. But yeah, I thought I was shocked to see his name on the list. I've got to be honest, Ron.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That would be the perfect scenario if he wins this, because I didn't think he was going to be ready for this year's Olympia, even if he had managed to win one of those shows. I don't think this version of him is going to do any damage at all at this year's Olympia.
No.
But, you know, we're all hopeful. He's already talked about going back to UK and staying with Samson again for some off-season training, which, you know, whatever Quinton's been doing, he's been making very gradual improvements over the past few years, but he needs to make that step forward. And I wonder if training with Samson could be that impetus, that boost that he needs.
Well, it obviously went really well, him training with Samson, because don't forget, he was staying at his house. And I know if he goes back next year, he said talking about getting Airbnb and, you know, but obviously showing up every single day for training. So it must have gone well, because right now Samson's got that private gym. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, he pretty much mostly, from what I know, he trains by himself. I know he's got Marlena there spotting him and pushing him. But it obviously went well. So if Samson probably wouldn't have invited him back for next year if it hadn't you know gone according to plan. So obviously they do gel together, but not enough where Samson maybe sees him as any sort of threat, because he is. Let's be face it, he is kind of like he's a good 3-4 years behind Samson. But sometimes these alliances can prove to be very, very effective and very, very powerful. But Quint's kind of like Rafael Brandao. You know, he turned pro back in 2017, well, early in 2017, but it kind of every year it's just 3 or 4% increase. Whereas like someone like Samson, what he did, well, really from when he first competed in 2018, 2021, like you said, he did get with Milos and he just went, his improvements were just unbelievable. But the thing is, I was thinking about this last week because I was listening to our Power Hour last week and I was thinking, if he can do this, if he can do that, there's not many people that can do what Samson did. There's a lot of guys at like sort of Quinton and say 2022 Samson's level that can't then just go completely crazy and, you know, improve the way they have, because there's plenty of guys out there with, this is at the top level of pros. There's plenty of guys with great genetics, plenty of guys with beautiful poses like, you know, Quinton's front double bicep and stuff like that. And you can just see, you know, and they've got good symmetry, and you just know that, oh, if you put another 10, 20, 30 pounds on, they can look sensational. Like with hers, I mean, I didn't see that coming because I didn't think, A, he would be 30 pounds heavier, and B, I didn't think he could do that. So it's easy to say, oh, imagine Quint with another 20, 30 pounds. Yes, of course he would. He would absolutely improve and rise and place even better. But it's whether he can do that. It's whether he'll come back next year 2 or 3%, even if he trains with Samson. It's not a foregone conclusion. It's like saying, well, what if he gets with Milos? He'll put on 30 pounds. Not necessarily. It's not necessarily going to happen. So we might see just more of the same. I mean, the thing is, he's still, was he 31? So he's still. But funny enough, I was looking through my phone pictures. I was trying to find a picture of me with Branch outside Metroflex in 2012, and I was going right through my pictures, right, because I've got all back photos on my phone back from 2017, and I saw some pictures of Quint from 2019, and I'll be honest, in 6 years, I kind of would have expected to see a little bit more, but then again, who knows? Like I said, maybe the missing piece of the pie is him going and training with Samson and doing a full off season. And maybe that is what he needs. Maybe not. Who knows? But well, I guess we'll find out. But yeah, it's going to be. I think he's got his work cut out. And the thing is, it's a shame the point system isn't around now, because he would be in the Olympia right now. Yeah. It's crazy to look at this, what we're seeing here now, and say this guy needs to be significantly bigger, like at least another 10 pounds. But when he's standing next to these guys who are just denser, they have more thick, dense muscularity, it's tough. I mean, the shape is unparalleled, the structure, everything, just beautiful. And like you said, not everyone can gain. We just assume all these pros are capable of putting on another 20, 30 pounds like that if they really, really bust their ass and, you know, go heavy on the whatever it takes. But maybe not. So I guess time will tell. But we're all rooting for him. We like we're big fans of this guy's physique. Don't get it twisted, guys. But as far as winning this show, there is one guy I saw on the list. Didn't expect to see him competing. It's the UK's own Shed, James Hollingshead. And James, he did compete earlier in the season. It was so long ago. I forgot he competed at both. It was the Arnold and the Detroit shows. He was 8th at the Arnold and 3rd at Detroit, and then shut it down. Did you know he was competing? I knew he was prepping because since they had him and are they married yet? They're not married, are they? I think they are married. Anyway, they have. I knew that they had a baby, and she's Norwegian. So he's actually, because I messaged him the other week, and he's actually been out in Oslo training at Harold's gym, a gym I went to in 2009, which is kind of like the hardcore gym. I think that's where he is there actually. It's like an old 80s style kind of hardcore gym. Tommy Torvilson used to train there. And it's because there's not a huge bodybuilding scene in Norway, but this gym is proper old school, you know, like the kind of the old Muscle Works type gym where James used to train in the late 90s, was it? No, it would have been, no, sorry, what am I talking about? No, sorry, I don't think he was born then. No, in the, I'm trying to think of the year when I was working, about 2011, I filmed him training with a British bodybuilder called Steve Avery, and they were training legs, and that's when he was a junior, when he was like 20 years old. So, I knew he was prepping for something. I just assumed it was going to be the British show that he was going to be doing. But I wasn't shocked to see him jumping into this last minute. Well, probably not last minute, but there you go. Yeah, he's already confirmed for Prague as well. And I can't imagine, he's got to be doing the British show. Why wouldn't he? He is. Yeah. So he's hitting a lot of these shows. Clearly wants the qualification for next year, and he wants to beat some Olympia caliber guys, some top 10 Olympia guys. I'm sure he wants some money. And I see this as Quint's biggest threat. I mean, without him in the lineup, I was like, okay, Quint's most likely going to win this. And now I'm not so sure. I think Shed might be the one to stop him. Yeah, I sent you that the posing update this morning. What did he think? Because the comments were like, "Oh, he's downsized, he's smaller, he's this, he's that." because now he's working with Chris Tuttle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's working with Chris Tuttle. Because the thing is, I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, I know he's had a lot of coaches. I actually spoke to him in Sweden a couple of years ago, and he actually said to me at that point, I said, what happened with whatever the coach was at the time? And he says, Giles, he said, I've come to the realization, he said, I think I might be uncoachable. Because he's worked with Patrick, he's worked with Stefan, I forget, he's probably worked with others I've just completely forgotten about. But he said, I think he's somebody that's very instinctive, and he likes to sometimes use his own judgment. And so I think in some ways to coach him, he said, I think he expressed how frustrating it might be for the coach when, he has strong views, because he's a very knowledgeable guy. He's been around a long time. He knows how to prep. He knows how to train. Yeah. And I think sometimes he sometimes he's, he struggles with that. But fingers crossed, Chris Tuttle will be bringing him in, because apparently he got to a certain point in the prep by himself. And then I think Chris Tuttle, I don't want to say it was like the last 4 to 6 weeks. I think that's when he handed it over to Chris. So let's see what he brings, because I thought he looked great earlier on in the year. He was at the Arnold UK and the Arnold last year. He looked fantastic. I don't think he looked smaller. I just think he looked really, really, really flat, because I think maybe that was the plan, just really bring him in flat and then try and fill him up for the show. So I'm curious to see what the game plan was. I'd love to have interviewed him or something, find out, and to see what the plan is. But it does look to first glance, and if you saw the comments, it does look like he has come down a little bit, but that doesn't mean anything. It's like Samson doing Romania, the guest posing a few weeks ago. It looks like he's downside, but maybe it's just because they're pushing for conditioning and they kind of eat up into the show. That's the tactic.
Yeah, on the Meathead podcast last night, I don't know if it was Kenson or Fate. What's his name? God. One of them said that James has expressed he goes to different coaches to learn different things as an education, not so much to be coached per se, but to just expand his knowledge base, which, I mean, who does that?
Well, do you know what it is, though? A lot of this is not, it's not the problem with bodybuilding today, in that every single person has a coach from day one, like before they even step on stage to their first show. And the thing is, with I spoke to these coaches. I spoke to Patrick and Neil Hill and all these other coaches, and a lot of them, a lot of their clients will just follow it blindly, and very rarely, some of them, very few actually ask, why am I doing this? What's this for? So sometimes, these guys have to have coaches, even when they rise to the top level. Because you and I have spoken to all of the top bodybuilders, and some of them that actually have had a coach pretty much for most or all of their careers. When you actually speak to them about their knowledge, they're clueless. Some of them are, because they've never had to learn themselves. You and I have coached, we coached ourselves. We did shows. Yeah. I never had a coach. I mean, I was never at that level anyway. But this was in the era when only the Chad Nichols and the Ronnies and the Nassers and stuff, they were the guys that only had coaches. Everybody else below never did. It's kind of more of a recent phenomenon. So I imagine someone like James is someone that will discuss rather than just kind of do exactly what it says on the emails and the messages and on the check-ins and stuff. I bet they're kind of ones that will say, well, why am I doing this? Then they kind of find, and then they see what it does for their body and how their body responds. And then they keep those notes and stuff. So James is probably, I accept that. It's probably why because I've always wondered why sometimes, because James isn't a nightmare. He's not known to be a diva. Like some of these athletes are, that's why they go through coaches, because they expect miracles and, but James isn't like that. So that makes sense, actually, why he has had so many coaches. But I always thought he looked his best when he worked with Patrick.
I mean, he's had a lot of good looks. Sometimes he's come in flat, but overall he's been steadily improving. I remember meeting him in, I think his first US show anyway was Tampa. I want to say 2018. Wow. And I remember just thinking, if this guy fills out, he's got a really good look to him. I just want to see him a little bit bigger, and he's done that. So I also got a note. I counted the plates while we were talking there. That's 7 plates he was doing without us. This was 7.25 plates. Jeez. So that's 750 pounds right there. Is that right?
Yeah, but Ron, he's doing proper form, and the thing is, he can do this all year round. But last time I spoke to him a couple. I think it was in Sweden actually a couple of years ago when he was over the gas show. And he was saying that I've lightened my training up now, and I realize now I don't have to go to 7, whatever plates for squats.
Yeah.
He says I'm only going to 6 plates or 5 plates. He says I'm just banging out higher reps and more sets, which is still an astronomical amount of weight. But I think he's a guy. I was chatting to Johnny Jackson, and I said, "You're still strong." And I said, "When were you strong?" He says, "I've always been strong, from when I was young to when I was competing to now." He says, I might not use the same sort of weight, but the strength is always there in reserve. It's not like it ever leaves him. Whereas, like I remember like squatting 4.5 plates when I was like 20, 21. And now I think that weight would snap me in two.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, super, super strong guy. But let's keep it moving. We got Hassan Mostafa making his comeback. He has not been seen since last year, and he did not make top 5 at either of the shows he did last year, which is why I didn't even remember that he had competed last year. But I interviewed him early this week, and he has put on another 20 pounds. He was sitting at 280 pounds, and I want to say he's about 5'7", not a tall guy. So you do the math there. He's pound for pound, he's about as big as Nick Walker.
So hang on. So what is he saying he's weighing now then?
Yeah, he was 280 earlier this week. And he's competing in 2 days.
Oh, that sends alarm bells. That sends alarm bells.
I agree.
I can see. Oh, he's a little bit thicker, but I mean, who knows what he'll end up by the time he gets to the stage? But some of these guys, they're like Brandon Curry was one like that. He like a few days out, he could look so watery, and some guys just naturally hold a lot of water. And then when they do their water manipulations and whatever they do with diuretics and carbing up or whatever, some just cut water, some keep it in, some pull sodium. Some guys change drastically because I've seen it. I've seen Chris Cormier was another like that, and they start posing and stuff, and then everything kind of comes alive. But he looks good in this video. He looks really, really good. But there's a bit of a question mark. He's either going to win it or he's going to be 5th. I don't think there's no in between with Hassan. But when I hear a guy already pound for pound, probably one of the biggest, up there with like Pete Ramy and Nick Walker, I'm a little bit nervous because his Achilles heel has been the waist thickness, the conditioning. But I think it's one of those things where we'll see as soon as he walks out, whether he's nailed it or not, literally when he hits that first pose, because he's one of those guys that his muscles almost like too big. It's too voluminous and, so let's see what, either 1st or 5th.
Yeah, I mean, the condition, Hollingshead, some of those videos we were looking at were 6-8 weeks ago, and he was in better condition than what we're seeing here from Hassan. So, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for the best. Like I said, I interviewed him. He's a great guy, family guy, humble, soft-spoken. I wish him the best. But, again, condition has been, as you said, an Achilles heel. That's the one thing, because we know he doesn't have the best structure, the most gifted structure. So the only way you can sort of account for that is just being freaky big and shredded to the bone. So let's wish him the best.
Yeah.
Let's keep
his back looks a bit. Some of his back looks a bit bigger as well. I thought that as a real lat spread because he's always had like thickness, but he hasn't had a lot of width in the back. So I'm seeing things happen there a little bit. But it's like I said, it's all in the waistline with him.
Yeah. So another guy who's been hitting a lot of shows, the UK's Lewis Breed, and the condition on him, unquestionable. This guy brings it. Again, he's someone who doesn't have that gifted, beautiful shape and structure like a Quinton, but he's kind of like a Branch or a Johnnie, just a bulldog, stacked with gobs and gobs of muscle, grainy. He's got that look like he trains very heavy and very hard, like the UK stereotype of how you guys train over there. But I think Lewis is definitely a top 3 consideration here, maybe even better. We'll see how James and Quinton look, but this guy's been very, very consistent this season.
Yeah, I was with him 3 days ago.
Oh, that's right. He was in.
Yeah,
Sweden.
we went on. Yeah, we were in Sweden. We were on the even on Monday we went on the boat trip. And we went out in 2 boats. All the big guys went on the boats, and then me and a few others went on this other boat, which was smaller, which had a slight 100 less horsepower. That's it. Yeah, that was we passed that boat. And we were racing and they really ramped it. We're going about 50 miles an hour. It's really, really cool. So I was waving and stuff like that as we were speeding and stuff. So check my stories anyway; it's on there. But
Yeah.
so I said to I was with him. I was with the show on the weekend in Sweden, and I said, mate, you okay? Traveling and prepping. And he says, well, no. He says, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. He said, I'm on 600 gram of carbs. He said, once I'm in my routine, he said, once I'm on prep, he said, I'm locked in. And then I was thinking, because he's got like 4 kids or something. You can imagine like, the responsibility. He said, like taking the kids to school and stuff. He says, when I'm out here, he says, all I got to do is just, he said, I've got a apartment with a kitchenette. He says, and he said, it's I don't have to, all I got to focus on is myself, basically. Yeah. So I said, you seem very relaxed and he looked fantastic in the guest posing on stage. And he says, yeah, I'm doing everything I need to do. He said, like I said, I'm locked in. So so traveling certainly hasn't affected him. And it was great to see him guest posing a week out, because sometimes like some of the guys who guest posed at that show, they won't be present because they're actually on prep and competing. But Lewis is 1 week out, and it didn't seem to faze him whatsoever. So and also, I was going through his poses because from the side and the back, his poses are incredible. I think he's really, really strong in all of those. And I said the 2 front poses, I said that really hurt you, because most muscular in the ab and thigh is good. But I said your front double bicep, because you're a bit straight up and down. I said, plus your front lat spread. I said, for me, are your only 2 poses in the pre-judging that other guys like, Quint and stuff can potentially take you. But then he came out with who did he come out with? Samir, was it Samir Trudy? He came out on stage with who's the other guest poser? He came out with the German pro Justin Masuliel, who's also with Gasp now. And they were posing side by side and hitting compulsories. And he hit his frontal bicep. And I don't know whether it was because we were slightly looking down from the live stream pit. His frontal bicep looks a lot more V-shaped now. And I said to him afterwards, I said, mate, I take it back. I said, you've only got 1 week post now. I said, that's your front lat spread. I said, but your front double bicep, there's more going on. And of course, the frontal bicep is very important because it's the first compulsory pose you hit.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think Quint wins that pose all day, no matter where he is, pretty much. Just a God-gifted shape, and that's his pose. Guys who tend to have wider waists genetically, the front double is a rough pose for them, and the front lat spread. I mean, that we've seen that over and over again. But yeah, here's him with Justin, like you said, and doesn't look like doesn't look as thick the waist as what I remember. And his front relaxed. He doesn't have the waist doesn't look wide at all in the front relaxed. And
he's on 600 gram of carbs at the moment.
Good Lord.
He said that's low for me. He said I need that to kind of maintain my muscle. I was like, 600 gram of carbs. I said, I never even had that on a high carb day in the off season. Yeah. So some of these guys, they do it on high salt, high carbs. I've seen them. Andreas, what's his name? Oh, sorry, the Italian guy.
Was he? No, Presti.
Presti. Like I remember him telling me he was dieting like on his high carb day, be like 1,000 gram of carbs, and low for him was 600. He said he was starving on 600 gram of carbs, but he said he learned that he needed that because getting condition was never a problem, but to maintain the muscle as he's doing it. Some of these guys have to go really, really low, high carbs, So all this 0 carb and 80 gram of carbs that I'm sure you and I have done just wasn't a no-go for guys with this amount of size.
Yeah, they're all different. So here's another classic guy making his open debut, Stéphane Matala from France. So he doesn't have to travel too far. The big news is that Patrick Tour and he parted ways, and it was Patrick's decision. We know that. And it was just about a week ago, I guess. So it's to lose your coach that close to a show could be disastrous. Maybe not. We'll see what happens. But I don't recall him as a classic guy as much because he never did too much stateside. And, I'm an ugly American. But what improvements do you think this is enough additional size to stand next to Quinton, James, Hassan, guys like Budasheim, Lewis Breed, and compare favorably? Obviously, the shape and symmetry and all that is unquestioned. What a beautiful body. But I don't know size-wise what he's going to look like next to them.
Well, I'd say let's give him a chance because it's his first show at a classic. But look what Urs just did.
Oh, exactly. But I don't think he's up 30 pounds from his classic weight the way Urs was.
I don't know. He's actually quite a lot bigger because he won Portugal, I think it was last year. And it's breathtaking physique. And people were saying about his back and everything. Oh, you got to see his, because he very rarely poses his back in any of his videos. But I have seen him pose it. And I think his back's really, really good. I said a few weeks ago, and Patrick responded. I said, why do people say this guy doesn't have a good back? I said, because it looks pretty bloody good to me. But yes, the structure, everything, it looks like he's going to make a very, very, very good open debut. So I think there's that. The structure is incredible. If he doesn't, say, make sort of, I don't know, top 3, even top 5 in this show, there's no shame in that, because if he keeps that structure, which I'm sure he will, over the next few years, this guy is a one to watch, because let's face it, guys that even Lunsford, guys like Samson, these Urs, these are guys that are open size but with that kind of classic lines, and he seems to have retained that. In fact, his lines are even crazier now he's gone to open, I think. But I'm very excited to see this guy. I'll be honest, I did resist the urge to message Patrick, who would have told me exactly what happened, but I don't want to get into all that. I tried to sort of steer away from all that gossipy stuff, you know what I mean? So, plus I'm frightened I might repeat it.
I mean, people are already speculating, and people are already sort of putting words in Patrick's mouth that I don't think ever came out of his mouth. I don't think he ever said anything. Like they're saying, Patrick said he was lazy. I don't think Patrick would ever put that in a post or anything like that. But
he could hint it, though.
He might have hinted that he wasn't following the protocol, or wasn't doing exactly what Patrick wanted him to do. And I could see that where a coach could get frustrated, especially I've heard that Patrick is my way or the highway. So, do what I tell you. Yes. You can ask questions, but I'm the coach. You pay me to give you the plan to execute. So you execute it. I get that. Look,
Patrick is at the point now where he's got such a good track record, and he's that experienced. I don't think he's got time to go back and forth with athletes that are not questioning, but maybe pushing back on a few things. It's like, just freaking do it. We prep my ex, and they sort of clashed a little bit over certain things. But it's a shame, because the kind of work he's done, isn't it? Because he's been looking dry and full and everything for the last few weeks. But I think I could see him sort of rounding out like a good top 6 maybe. But I think he's going to look small next to the Hollingsheads and the even guys like Quint, who still could use more size. I think that actually structurally, I think you're going to see that this is a classic guy that has just come from open, but a couple more years. I mean, we go on about Quint having potential, but this guy has a huge amount of potential as well, and he has things that Quint doesn't have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's been in shape for many, many weeks. Some of these posing videos, like this was 8 weeks ago. So he's been in contest condition. So I don't think losing a coach at the last minute is going to impact him as badly as it might somebody who was struggling to, get in shape at the last minute. He's going to be okay, I think. So let's look forward. Let's see what he has to bring. Moving on down the line, we've got Tim Budesheim coming back again. So Tim, how's he did? He did 7th in Germany, 9th in Italy. Not as well as we were expecting to, but condition, size, everything's there. Again, he's a guy that structurally the waist can look a little wide in the front shots, like there.
Yeah.
But again, he's bringing a very consistent package every time, so he should be hopefully a first call out guy.
I'm not saying I know what he's doing, but the guys who tend to get a little bit bigger, but then the waistline goes wider, it's usually due to insulin. I mean, I won't mention the guy's name, but I remember he told me, I was speaking to a bodybuilder, I said, have you ever used insulin? He said, yeah. And I said, I'll tell you exactly when you started using it. He said, what do you mean? I said, it was this year. And he went, how do you know that? I said, mate, because yes, you got bigger, but the waistline, it's not so much the distension, but the actual width of the waist tends to blow out a little bit. You can see it in that shot. It kind of spoils the picture a little bit. But fair play to Tim. He brings unreal conditioning. He carries a lot of size, a lot of density. And I've been kind of disappointed for him and Theo this year, because they do consistently bring good conditioning and tons of size, and then to see them kind of not making top 6 in European shows, it does hurt my heart a little bit, I must admit.
Well, then that brings us to I'll only refer to him by his first name, Theo. I think it's Le Guerrier. Want to try it that way?
Le Guerrier.
Le Guerrier. I mean, we're getting closer and closer every time we try it. Theo, as you pointed out a few times, had not been out of the top 5 in any show to your recollection, but Germany, he was 12th.
Other than the Olympia.
Of the Olympia, and seventh place in Italy. So, but all the way down to 12th for Germany. I did hear he has a new coach, and they're probably just sort of figuring things out still. But that's for this physique, that does seem awfully low.
I wonder why him and Mauro parted ways, because I thought they did a great job together, and they seem to be really doing really well. But I've heard he's out, mate. I've heard he's out of this show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I said, you don't want to jump too much on what we read on social media, but somebody messaged me and he said I've reached out because his dad Patrick messages me, and he said I'm trying to get hold of his dad to confirm, but he says I can't get hold of him. He hasn't responded. So maybe 12th was just too much of a gut punch for him, and he just said maybe he just thought, okay, I need to shut it. I don't know. But I obviously, being a French show and being the one of the top French athletes, I would imagine, it's a shame that he's not doing this show. So I hope that's not true, or maybe he was out, maybe he was pissed off with himself after Germany, where he wasn't happy about being 12th. And I hope that he's reconsidered and he is doing this show, because I love and he's one of the most consistent pros in Europe, if not the world, because like you said, outside the Olympia and the Arnold, this guy has never, apart from these last 2 shows, has never been at the top 5. Now that is quite an achievement. And the thing is, this is a guy doesn't just do the 1 or 2 shows in Europe. He's done Puerto Rico, he's done New York Pro, he's done Tampa, he's done every single show you can think of. So he's really tested himself over a number of years. Literally the last 4 or 5 years, he's been out there competing, traveling, and never outside the top 5. That is incredible. So I'd imagine the 12th really, really hurt him. But I wonder why. You said that the coach changed. Maybe there was something they did differently that really hasn't worked for him. So maybe he needs to go back to the drawing board. Maybe he has shut it down and maybe just wants to come back next year.
Yeah. Would you say that he is France's top open pro?
Yes, I would actually. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anyone better. I think if you actually added up how many shows he's done and how well he's done, top 3 New York Pro and all that, I think was he 3rd or 4th New York Pro? Yes, I would say over the last 4 or 5 years, I would say he's been consistently France's number 1 competitor.
I mean, does France have anyone else that's been winning? I can't think of anybody. But
no.
So I mean, that's for the sake of the French fans, I hope that's just a rumor, and I hope he does compete, because obviously that 12th place is horrible for an athlete that was hoping to win or at least be top 5.
Yeah.
But, it's 2 weeks between shows. You can do a lot in 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, I really when I read it, I was like, oh, come on, man. But like I said, sometimes you can go into a show and thinking you're going to do well, and then you get 12th. And like I said, sometimes it might take you more than a couple of weeks to recover from that. Sometimes guys get up, they dust themselves off, and they keep going, like Tim. But maybe the 12th just hurt him too much. Or maybe the thing is, we don't know. There might be something have gone wrong, or there might be something, I don't know. Maybe there was some health issue or injury or something that was impeding his training. Maybe he started prepping too late. We don't know. So I suppose all you can do is speculate.
Right on. All right. Well, we wish him the best of luck. I've met him once. I've only met him once, but very nice guy.
Cool guy.
So moving on. So that is the French Pro. That's happening Saturday. I want to move on to a subject that's come up, the suggestion that instead of human judges, we would have the shows judged by, I say robots because I'm 56 years old, but it's actually not cyborg robots like Terminator. ChatGPT, a software program.
What?
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. So a guy with another podcast that I'm no longer part of, he made a post saying that he ran the pictures of the Pittsburgh Pro through, and they had Nick Walker winning, which because it agrees with what the fans, basically decided the winner was Nick Walker, that it must be correct, and it would eliminate the human error element, the biases that humans might have, the prejudices, the preferences, whatever it is that humans might look at a physique and bring to the judgment process. This ChatGPT is going to could make it all obsolete, and you wouldn't be able to argue with the judges because you can't argue with a software program. I mean, what are your thoughts on, because ChatGPT and AI is taking over a lot of industries these days. Should it replace human judging in bodybuilding?
No, stupid idea. And do you know what you just told me, and I mean, it's something I'd have to really sit and think about. But you know, with like AI, like you do Facebook posts and stuff like that, and it'll read. It basically reads what's on the internet. So fans would have too much influence and too much say. That's what I think. I think. What are you watching, mate?
Oh, I'm just showing judging.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yes, I was like, why is he showing the Arnold? No, I think it would be too open to influence, and I think, you know, like Hadi fans and Nick Walker fans, it'd just be every show would be won by Hadi and Nick Walker because the amount of fans they have. I mean, Chris Bumstead would probably win the Classic Olympia, bloody sat in the audience. It doesn't make sense. And to be honest, it is a subjective sport. And I suppose you could do you know what you could do? Okay, in fairness, what you could do is you could have judging as it is, but then also like you did with Pittsburgh, maybe do it and compare and see why, and then compare it to say Tyler's, you know, like breakdown videos where he really explains. And I bet you they wouldn't align. Because yes, I mean, I had Nick Walker winning Pittsburgh, but it wasn't. The whole idea. It's I think if that is maybe where the future's going, because, you know, I've had some thoughts on head judges kind of making all the decisions and all the other judges just falling into line. When you see one place is 1 to 15 and all the scores are clean, exactly, and you're telling me so it tells me that every single judge was in agreement of every single placing in the top 15 or the top 20, then but you'd have to enter in the criteria. You'd have to. How would you scrutinize it? How would you ask questions to ChatGPT? Because I was doing it on the weekend. I was saying, what happened with that class? With the guy that won, there was a guy that won men's physique and he had gyno. So I went up to the head judge because we were all together, and I asked him after dinner, and I said, he said, yeah, I was conflicted with that one, and I did ask the other judges, and, you know, they went back and forth, and they all gave their opinions, and the super heavyweights, they rejudged at night because they said that it was very, very close between a couple of guys, and depending on how the guys came back better or worse, either of them, any of them, that would then maybe influence, and they would rejudge it, and the results could potentially change. So, but that takes discussion. That takes people offering their opinion who are judges. With ChatGPT, it'd just be a blanket statement. And I don't know how you would question or scrutinize it, because is it going to be honest? I mean, I don't know. Is it just going to draw upon all the information that's on the internet that it creates something? And then, like I said, fans would have too much say, which to me is completely ridiculous. Because I'll be honest, some of the shit I read on Instagram, some of the, I was talking to AJ about it on the weekend, and he was saying, we get as doing what we do, we get tired of some of the nonsense we read about shows. Like, I mean, no disrespect, but like seeing Germans saying that Urs is going to win the Olympia.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm like, what? Like, no, you know, no disrespect to Urs. I've just messaging back and forth on Urs, and I said, thank you for proving me wrong, by the way, Urs, and he liked the comment. Yeah. But it's like the fact that people genuinely think that. They think that Nick Walker's going to come in and win the Olympia. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, because he is one of my 4 guys that I think could happen and could do it. But you know, there's too many biases. And like I said, with the fans, sometimes some of the bullshit I read, because I'm not saying this as a disrespect, but there are a lot of casual fans that, like we said about Nick Walker, not necessarily bodybuilding fans, not necessarily Hadi fans, but they're not fans of bodybuilding. They're just fans of that one particular guy, and I get it. So that's fair enough. So they want to support their guy, even though it has no outcome. You know, it's like I get pulled up when I said about Hadi's one leg being bigger than the other. And this guy came up and he launched at me, an Iranian guy, and he says, Hadi's living rent-free in your head. And I said, no, I'm just making an observation that is actually true. I said, I'm not attacking the guy. I'm making a physique observation. When I mentioned the filled shoulders, I'm not trying to pull that guy down. I'm just saying I can see it, and so can the judges. Yeah, and
the bottom line is that a computer program, a software program, is always going to be objective and cold. It's like trying to judge. I consider bodybuilding to be more of a pageant. It's judged more like a beauty pageant, except instead of beautiful women's faces and bodies, we're looking at muscularity and different attributes. But if you ask the computer to pick the most beautiful woman on a stage or our software program, it's going to go by, symmetry of left to right and the eye, the ratio, the fate of the eyes to the mouth to the nose. It's going to be very cold and calculating. And if we do that with bodybuilding, I don't see outcomes that would be as just and fair as someone like a Weinberger who sat. I tried to do the math in my head. He's probably judged at least 2,000 pro shows by this point, and maybe another 2,000 amateur shows.
Really?
If you figure out if he's working, like if you do the math, you say he's probably judging 40 weekends out of 52 a year, which is it's more than that. If you do the math and how long he's been doing, it's thousands and thousands of shows. Even Tyler's been judging since he was like 19. I mean, these people have so much experience and they've seen so many different types of physiques in every type of condition possible. I don't think a software program could ever take the place of that type of eye and experience. Personally.
How would you judge bikini? How would you judge men's physique? How would you judge classic? I'm just trying to think. Even if open body, like say you had say Samson and Hadi, two completely different sorts of physiques.
Right. One's
heavier and bigger, one's shorter and more. Whatever. They've all got their physique attributes. How the hell would you judge it? Well, you just enter in the criteria of what they scan the criteria of what it says on the look. Because what happens like in Prague when you get a Chris Bumstead with a Martin Fitzwater. So who's the biggest? Oh, well, Martin Fitzwater, he wins. Oh, well, so Marcus Rule would have won the Olympia because he was the biggest on stage. Well, but he wasn't the best. He wasn't, he was in some shows, but he wasn't the best up there. So how would they judge that? I mean, it's just, to be honest, I think it's a ridiculous idea. And the more I'm talking about, the more annoyed I'm getting.
Well, let's put you in a better mood. Let's
stupid ideas. Stupid.
So let's revisit your weekend in what part of Sweden was this? Was this Gothenburg?
Well, that wasn't Sweden. That was the Vegas.
Well, that was Vegas, but you're showing Johnny many years ago.
Yeah.
And this was Johnny and Branch working with you, calling which was a free live stream, I might add, for the NPC Sweden.
Also, sorry to interrupt. I was mistaken because I thought we got 1,000 extra unique viewers on the show in April. And they said, no, you got it wrong, Giles. We used more bandwidth on the Saturday than we did on the whole weekend of the 2 days than we did back in April. So we've over doubled. So it's 100% increase on the live stream. So we reach more countries, more people. So go back one, actually. Go back. Yeah. Go back one.
Yeah.
That was 2012 outside Metroflex. Now that's in August in Texas, in Arlington. Where Ronnie used to train, and Perbinal was filming Branch and Johnnie training shoulders, and I was there training with Crystal and Simon Fan, our friends. Yeah, and I was training shoulders, and then Per shouted, he says, "Guys, we're going to be filming now, so if you're in camera shot, get out the way." And I just laughed. I says, "No chance, mate. If I'm training, you ain't moving me." So I was like, "I'm not moving up." How could you say that in Metroflex? Anyway, so I trained in that jacket with no air conditioning in the gym. Oof. And I was obviously, Branch comes up to me and he says, man, you can get hot in that jacket. I said, I love this train jacket. I'm kind of used to it. I get very I'm really weird when it gets to training stuff. I get really certain tops, and like all my polo shirts are all falling to bits what I wear underneath my my gas training jacket now. But he looked at me like, man, you Brits are crazy. So that was summer 2012. That was, mate.
Yeah, I heard that when Melvin Anthony trained at Metroflex in the summer one time, he passed out from heat stroke and they had to pack him in ice.
Yeah, I don't know. And you know me, I'm a Brit, so I'm not exactly used to training in hot gyms.
Yeah, I could say I have that exact tank top that Branch is wearing, and it never looked like that on me for some reason. I don't know why.
Bit baggier. So anyway, so Branch and Johnnie came on for the men's bodybuilding classes. So they would literally just sit by the left of us when it was like a class before. And then I had Minna and Lauren obviously helping with the classic and the men's physique and all the women's classes. And then for the bodybuilding classes on both days, Branch and Johnnie would come and it was fantastic. We had a really, really good back and forth. I think Johnny had never really done the live stream before. And afterwards he was like, man, he said, I see why you do this, Giles. This is really good fun. He said, I have to put myself out there and start. I hope we get some more gigs. He says, because that is he really enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean? They were going back and forth and Branch and stuff. But but it was really, really good. And it was good to see Johnny again as well, because I've not seen him for a few years. He looked really shocked to see me at the hotel in the morning. So yeah, it was nice to see him. We had a really good time, mate. They are.
Yeah, and free live stream. It's the way to go, because if you want the sport to grow, I understand you'd be losing some revenue from people buying pay-per-views, but if you can get a sponsor the way the Arnold Classic, the Arnold has been doing it for a couple of years now,
much better.
And you know, you could get 1 million views, where you're not going to get 1 million people to pay $80 for a pay-per-view, even if it's the Olympia. You'll get a good amount, but you're not.
I think think about it. You got the revenue of what it costs to put on a live stream. Because I remember Matthew telling me at the Euro Muscle show, and he said, "Giles, he's the first year." He said, "We can't," because I was down to do the live stream. Me and Lauren down to the live stream commentary, and he messaged, because I was on the graphic and everything. Done it. Oh, these guys two are doing live stream commentary. And then about a week before he rang me, he said, "Giles," he said, "I've just had a cost from the convention center. It's going to cost €15,000 just to put on a live stream." He said, "So I've pulled the plug on it." He said, "So I'll just have you doing interviews on the main stage." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." But I think when people like Gasp, NPC Sweden, do the free live stream, and they use sponsors, and obviously use, because it's supported by them as well, because it's like a marketing exercise as well as a show for Gasp and Better Bodies. I can see it in the future, but the Arnold's doing it as well. Maybe that is the future. Maybe finding sponsors that want to be on board with a free live stream, when they see how much more viewing figures they get, maybe that is the future. Because, I mean, how many people would watch the Olympia if it was completely free? I mean, I can imagine sponsors. If I was a sponsor, I'd be thinking, is it worth me putting $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000 or whatever to getting our branding on something like this at a big event, like a pro event, or the main event like the Olympia or the Arnold, and think of the reach you'll get internationally on these really, really big events.
Yeah, because, you know, as well as some shows, I'm sure the Olympia is going to get a lot of pay-per-view buys, as it should, but there's still going to be a lot of people who know that Nick Strength and Power, as soon as judging's over, he's going to he'll have the highlights on his channel, so they're not going to drop all that money. And was it ESN? Was that who sponsored the Arnold?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, there are companies out there who have the financial ability to do it, and they do see a benefit in having, I don't know, a few 100,000 views of people directly in their demographic, their target market.
What do you think the Olympia would get if it was free, the live stream?
How many views?
How many viewers?
Oh yeah, I mean viewers. I bet a couple million around the world if it was free.
I think, because I'm sure it's only like a few thousand. I'm sure when I saw the number at the top left, it was like 8,000 people. Now, if you were a sponsor and you were literally being the only, say ESN says, right, we want to be the sole sponsor of the live stream. Here's $500,000. Because if you worked it out, I think it was, I worked out the the prize money increase for the Open. Yeah. I spoke to Jake, and he said literally, we had to wait until the very last minute to put that increase. He said the ink was still wet on that check. He says, because we wanted to get the live stream numbers and all the revenue they pulled in from that, they basically put it into the prize money. So he said, well, we're literally doing sums backstage to work out what we had, because we wanted to increase the prize money.
Wow.
So, but I wonder if a company will just step up, like ESN, who's got money, would say, right, here's $500,000, here's 600K or whatever. We want to be the sole sponsor, but make the live stream free. Now, that surely would do a lot to expand the sport as well. Because think about the people who watch the live stream. It's family, it's friends. It's not just necessarily fans of the sport. But I think the number increase would be possibly worth a supplement company just basically trying it once and making it completely free.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are companies like in Brazil, Integra Medica they do very well. ESN does very well. I don't know how many US-based companies could or would do it, but certainly if they look for it. Another thing I want to ask you, Olympia prize money this year. My prediction is when that check flips around, it says $750. What do you think?
So is it $750 for the Arnold?
It's $750 for the Arnold, and last year was $600 for the Olympia, I believe.
$600. Well, they're not going to match it, are they? They're probably going to try and top it.
You think it's going to go up to $1 million immediately?
That's a big jump, mate. Another extra $250,000. I don't know. I think maybe we need to discuss the whole prize money thing on another Power Hour when there's no shows, because it's something that really we probably do need to go a little bit more in depth with, because I don't know, because otherwise the only person who's really going to benefit is the winner of the Open.
Right.
Nobody else. What about the other categories? You know, at first I was like, oh, here we go. The moaners are saying, oh, the classic's only this much, so-and-so, even though it has gone up, you know, it's gone up at the Arnold. And but I can see, but more and more I see, if this keeps happening, I can see a point from people that do feel that it is unfair. So Bonac jumped on Samson. He could have hurt him though, because Bonac's not a small guy. Imagine a guy just pouncing on your back. I mean, imagine if Samson slipped a disc with that happening.
He's thrashing him on the back too, you know.
Yeah. I mean, Samson probably just in complete. I mean, that was a great moment. That was a great moment. I mean, I remember watching it here on the live stream in the studio, and it was just incredible. So happy for him. And also when he picked up Hadi like that as well. So that was kind of cool.
I'm trying to do the math. That must have been 7 or 8 in the morning for you when that happened.
Something like that. I mean, the Olympia, I it's the one show I will stay up for. And sometimes the thing is, you're not going to, with the Open happening at the end, you're not going to sort of watch all the classes and then go to bed at 3 a.m. when the bloody Open's on, because you don't want to. This one show you've got to watch live. Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to promote drug use, but I think I would need some methamphetamine to stay up all through the night. I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but it's going to be tough. I'm an old man, so
you can try something called coffee. It's quite easily readily available.
Caffeine works too.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be one of the shorter Power Hours because we're going to keep it under an hour. Can you believe it, guys? Wow. So looking forward to see what happens in France this weekend. Rooting for Quint. Got my fingers crossed. James, of course, I'm rooting for him too. I like James a lot, but he's got a couple more chances. I can't see Quint continuing on after this because
we don't know.
The next possible show he could do is British Grand Prix, and that's another 3 weeks away.
No, I especially if he goes back to Canada and then back again. It's because thing is, because I was told that he was on the fence about doing France because he wanted to know if his sponsor was going to pay for the travel. Because the thing is, like all these shows, it's expensive.
Yeah,
it's really expensive, and everything you need and stuff like that. And then there's logistics, and I mean, he's really he's cutting it fine by doing this one. I just hope he doesn't kind of. I kind of hope he wins because he kind of like Sassan when he just kept going and going early on the year, and he eventually got those 2 wins. It's you just want to kind of see that rewarded. But thing is, that's not how it works. It's about who's the best up there. It's how they look. It's people that judges say, oh, he deserves it. It's like, no, he deserves it by how good he looks. If he looks the best, it's a sport of comparison, not how much hard work you put in or, the fact whether you walk to the gym or bloody drove, and no one gives a shit, or whether you've, funny, I was just sparking a weird story. I remember listening to Dorian and Debbie arguing once with a guy I was working for. Dorian was a partner, and I heard him complaining about. But she goes, but Dorian had the internal bleeding and his stomach, and that's why he had the distension. It's like, it doesn't matter why he had it; it's the fact that he had it. They don't care. Judges don't. They're just oh look, he's not very well, so let's give him a nod on this one because it's a visual sport. It's a visual sport, so they, judges, and they shouldn't give a shit about stuff like that. So take your sob stories and shelf them, please.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to raise your hand and say? I know my chest looks bad, but I tore it last week, and they're like, oh, okay, well, never mind. We're going to overlook that. And no, it doesn't work that way.
I know my legs are hairy, but I forgot to shave them. Do you ever have that dream? Do you ever have that dream where you forgot to diet and you forgot to shave your body?
And no tan either. I've had there's no tan.
Yeah. I forgot to diet. I'm sure there was something I had to remember. Oh, that's right. Prep and train and diet. Oh shit, forgot. And I'm going to get on stage looking like a complete idiot.
Every meathead has had that dream. It's the equivalent of, I think, when you wake up and suddenly you're in class right before a big exam that you have no idea you didn't study and you're gonna flunk out. It's an awful dream. But yeah, we've all had it. Anyway. Yep. Congrats on the great job you did at the NPC Sweden with Branch, Johnnie, Minna, Lauren, everybody that was assisting there in the live stream. I think you are the live stream commentary guy in the continent of Europe. You're the man. I mean, who's done more than you? Really, think about it.
Do you know what? I think it takes a special kind of art that you can do 18 and a half to 19 hours of commentary over 2 days. Because, like I said, this is the only amateur one I do. But the pro shows, if they've got a lot of like I've just Prague's literally been messaging now. Peter's messaging now because they want to book my flights today. My and Lauren's flights for the EVLS Prague. Yeah. So also, I had a thought today. And I've messaged him directly. If Behrooz can't get to the Olympia, what does he do? Is he just going to have to go do Prague and Romania? So I messaged Behrooz and I said, please, you must be thinking about coming and doing Prague. Because imagine Behrooz versus Keone. Who wins that?
And you got Krizo. I mean, I think Behrooz probably beats Krizo handily. But yeah, that'd be a tough lineup right there. I mean,
Keone versus Behrooz. I mean, who's?
If Behrooz' condition trumps his significantly, I would give it to Behrooz. But Keone's got one of the greatest physiques of this generation. The way he looks now, it's tough to beat. Even I
know, but there's a big difference between, like you saw Hadi and Samson, right? What's that difference? 50 pounds?
Yeah.
50 maybe more, slightly more maybe.
Samson's 300. I don't think Hadi's more than 230, 240 at the most.
There you go. Maybe 50 at 60 at a push.
Yeah.
When you're talking, I mean, Keone weighed in 200, 201 at the Olympia last year. Now I think he's going to be bigger this year. I think he's going to be. But then again, by the time the water comes off and they get on stage, even if he's 206, 5 pounds on a guy that height, like 5'4", 5'5", is going to be. It does look a lot. Yeah. So say he comes in maximum 210. That's a big difference between a guy like Krizo or Samson or like Krizo, like was he 260, 270? When you're getting above 50, 60, 70, I mean, people say, he's the best physique on. I keep reading, he's the best physique on the planet right now, best bodybuilder on the planet, and I'm thinking, stick him next to Samson. 100 pounds is a lot of difference. I mean, that's a huge difference when you're heading up to 90, 100 pounds. Keone will look absolutely incredible by himself, but stick him next to. Oh, I'm not liking that midsection. I'm getting concerned with that, mate. Because thing is, if they keep pushing the envelope, and he does, because I think he'll do. I've got a funny feeling Keone's going to do the Open, the Arnold. I think he will. Oh yeah. But for thinking that he's gonna, because like I said, he looks fantastic there. But stick him next to these giants, you do see a difference. I mean, Samir Trudi, the Masters Olympia champion, was guest posing on the weekend, and he's obviously qualified for the Olympia, so he's like 2 or 3 weeks out for the Olympia. Mate, he looked fantastic when he came up by himself, but when they stuck him in between Lewis and Justin, who are like 260, Justin was like probably 280, 290, whatever. When you stick him in between him, Samir just disappeared. So, these guys can look amazing by themselves. And yes, I'm not saying Keone isn't absolutely incredible, and I think there's absolutely no one to stop him in the 212 for the next God knows how many years. You get a bit of a reality check when you stick them next to the top open guys, because people are saying now that stick him in the, like Phil Heath said, he hinted that but I think it was Keone, he was talking about hinting that he was in the wrong category. Yeah, they look fantastic when they come up by themselves, but you stick them next to an Andrew Jack or a Behrooz or even a Krizo, I think you're going to get, like I said, you're going to get a reality check.
Yeah. As for Behrooz, I mean, I don't know the visa situation, but if I were him and I could get visas, I would do every single post-Olympia show. Yeah. British 100%. Grand Prix, Czech Republic, Romania. There's one in freaking Mexico. Actually, Mexico is. Yeah. Well, Mexico's the same day as the British Grand Prix. So
can you get to Mexico?
I don't know. I don't know what other countries have issues with Iran. I think it's just the U.S. that we don't allow too many Iranians in here during this current presidential administration.
Can he just walk over the border as an immigrant or something?
20 million people have, so
yeah. They might give him a phone and some credit card with some money on it, and okay, you go, mate. And just by the time they catch up with him, the ice catches up with him. He might have competed and done the Olympia. So, do you know what? I know it's a joke. I know it's a very joke. But you know what? It must have crossed his mind at some point. I mean, because I saw people actually like suggesting it, and it's like actually there's actually method in that madness.
Well, ICE is on a rampage now, so I wouldn't risk it. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole other political issue. Won't get into on Power Hour. We
Let's do it. Let's talk about politics. Oh my God.
So, I mean, it's great that we already have excitement for these post-Olympia shows, because typically, not so much. It's usually some guys that some guys that want to qualify for next year that they may not be that great. A couple of the Olympia guys, but most of the Olympia guys are going to shut it down. But I think we're going to see, especially, I bet British Grand Prix is going to be loaded. I think that's going to have a great lineup.
From Prague, the Prague promoters, with Behrooz hang on, lost it. Hang on, he's talking about Behrooz doing the visa problems for Behrooz in Prague as well, by the looks of it.
Damn it!
What the hell? I feel really bad for Behrooz, especially seeing Hadi getting in. That must really frustrate him, and obviously the elephant in the room is, imagine prepping for something you don't even know what you're going to do. That's why I think Hadi in 2019, remember when he made it just a few days before?
Yeah.
And then, he got third, and, no one would have argued if he'd have won. The fact that he actually had the mental strength, the acuity to, resilience to just prep for a show that you've got not until the last minute you get the green light to be able to get on stage and compete. I mean, that really is to Hadi's credit. The fact that he kept on going, every single year almost. I know it's never been a foregone conclusion. It's always a bit iffy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've been seeing Behrooz' stories. It kind of breaks my heart because he's saying, I believe God is my this and that, and he's a religious man, and he's really hoping and praying that this happens, and Milos is too, but it hasn't happened yet. It's been, I think, this will be like the fourth year, I think, that he qualified for the Olympia and wasn't able to get here.
I know. And I know I said before the new travel ban or whatever it was called a few months ago, remember we were talking about Hadi, and I said, look, the travel ban doesn't come in till Monday. Trump put a new list out, didn't they? And I was like, if I was him, I'd be on the plane now. I'd be booking a plane now. And was it 3 months out or something?
Yeah.
It was something like that. I remember us talking about it on here, and I'd said, like, get yourself out there now. But I was happy to see that Hadi made it. Really happy because, imagine how devastated. And I know we go on about his fans and stuff like that, and his people. I would feel really bad for him if, for his fans, for everyone. Because at the end of the day, it's the best of the best, and we're going to look at pictures from Dubai and video from Dubai when he won that and think, where would we doing podcasts? There'll be all the outlets will be doing podcasts here. Where would Behrooz have placed? And the thing is, if it comes to it, we'd be like, oh, actually, would have been second, like in third or fourth, or that means that he's not able to do what he puts so much hard work and heart into. And like I said, it's more bodybuilders over there are more than just bodybuilders. They're like national heroes. They've got like godlike status, and I love to see that because it means that, like you've seen, Hadi at the airport and guys like that, and it's it really means a lot to them. It's a lot of national pride. I mean, Samson walks down the street, most streets in the UK, most people won't even know who he is, but over there, like they literally need security. They
literally built a statue of Hadi in his hometown.
Wow, that's wonderful.
I mean, even you talk about UK, but even the US, we've never had that level of appreciation for bodybuilders. Yeah, certainly it's a sport it's a fringe sport, but over in places like Iran, Brazil, these people are treated like national heroes. So,
and America really is born. The sport is kind of recognized as mostly an American sport. I mean, America has kind of dominated bodybuilding for decades. So you'd expect that kind of appreciation in America, but it just doesn't happen. But so
that is an interesting paradox, but 100% accurate. All right, so fingers crossed for Behrooz. We hope it comes through. As unlikely as it may seem, we do hold out hope. We're both big fans of Behrooz Tabani, and
hang on, but he did Romania in 22, so there's less restrictions getting to Romania. So I'm guessing he will do Romania because, like I said, he won it in 22.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to be able to do at least one show. He's been prepping. He looks fantastic. I knew Dubai was a great win. It was a nice payday, but he's been on prep for 3 months ago, and he's been in prep this whole time. I would hate to see all that go for naught. personally.
Yeah, no, I just, like I said, it sucks for him, and I really feel bad for him because it's not his fault, is it? I mean, because was he in the military? That's why I think most of his problems come from, as compared to Hadi's. But surely there should be. Thing is, though, they've had enough time to kind of get over this problem. If it can, so my point is, if it could have been fixed, I feel like it would have been fixed by now because he's been trying since 22 at least. So the last 3 years where he's qualified for the Olympia, he's not been able to do it. And the thing is, he's at a point now where I think he'd have been fighting for 5th to 7th with like the Martins, the Andrew Jacks. I mean, we kind of the Brandons. I think a lot of us, because I think the top 4 is pretty locked in. But like he would have been fighting for that kind of, probably 5th, probably 7th, 8th, which is top 10 in the world. So, and then he'd be able to say, I'm the 5th best bodybuilder in the world, and I'm going to come back next year and rise to top 3 and challenge Hadi. And then there would have been the Hadi and Behrooz national kind of, seeing all the, the scene of fellow countrymen. I think that would have been a good storyline to follow. But I just felt bad for him.
Let's hold out hope. It's not impossible as far as I know. It could happen, and let's just hope because he's a workhorse. He's a phenomenal bodybuilder, and the guy just grinds away year after year, bringing very consistent packages. Clearly, a very hard worker, loves the sport. So we wish him the best.
He's a good guy as well. I mean, I've spoke to him. It's funny because Lauren interviewed him at 22, and he didn't really speak any English. And I went because I was filming it on my phone, and she was going for a good couple of minutes, and they were properly talking. I said, Lauren, how did you manage that? He doesn't even speak English. She said, I just winged it.
So he was replying in English?
I believe so. Well, she doesn't speak very good Iranian. So Farsi. Yeah. So I don't. I wonder how she managed it, but because you could have been like, sorry, if you don't speak English, not really much I can do. And he didn't have a translator then, like Hadi does. So fair play, Lauren.
Yeah, I didn't know Lauren had those gifts like that. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, because she was doing the interviews because every time the class winner, she'd take the headphones off, the headset off. And then she'd go to the side where the Wings of Strength, the Romania Pro thing was, the backdrop and the cameraman, and she'd just grab the mic and she'd go and interview the winners. But it was like a 2-3 minute interview, like you used to do at the Meet the Olympians.
Yeah.
And so she'd run back and then she'd put the headphones on and carry on with the commentary. It was brilliant. So because I would have gone, no, I can't interview the guy who doesn't speak English.
Yeah, I would have done the same. So good on Lauren. Anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that wraps it up. Guys, please drop a comment below. Please subscribe, like, share, do all that stuff. Anything that you heard us say that you agree with or disagree with, you want to make fun of us, it's all good. All the comments help me. So I don't care. Keep them coming. Good, bad, neutral, whatever. And
we should ask ChatGPT how we did today.
You did good. I know it's not a robot, but I'm gonna keep using that robot word. Yeah, back when I was a kid, I thought we'd have robot servants by now. Well, we're almost there.
Oh, hang on! Did you see my stories?
Yes, you did have a robot serving you.
In Stockholm, where the server's like a cat's face, and it makes these funny little noises, and it brings the food to your table, and then you press finish, and it goes back. So that was a bit weird.
Yeah, well, we don't need to look at it. It's fine.
Then it asked me where John Connor was. Weirdly enough,
Sarah Connor. Anyway.
Where's your food, sir? Where is John Connor?
Horrible Arnold imitation. All right. Thanks for joining me as always, Giles. Always a pleasure. Guys, hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back next week talking Olympia, of course. So keep it tuned right here on Power Hour. We will see you next time.